You're listening to Generation Jones, 1954 to 1964. Conversations with remarkable people who have shaped our world. I'm your host, Wendi Cooper, and I do hope you enjoy the show. My guest today is experiential marketer Saul Colt. He is founder and creative director of the Idea Integration Company, a non-traditional experience-based marketing and word-of-mouth advertising consultancy. I spoke with Saul about generational marketing, the collateral effect of the Me Too movement, and his thoughts on the legalization of cannabis in Canada. Let's join the conversation.
A lot of people think that marketing is they internalize it and they create campaigns for themselves. They create campaigns that they think are going to be interesting when really doesn't matter what I like and what I want. It's really who's going to buy this and 50 million people strong. That absolutely this is a market that everyone should be paying attention to because they also have money. At least we assume they have money. That they've been working a long time.
Generation Jones is now aged 52 to 63 and nearly 50 million strong in the U.S. alone. Some experts say that Gen Jonesers' political influence and buying power are massive and only beginning to be understood. I am so thrilled and so happy to be targeting this generation that I think that most people don't really know about. Jonathan Pontel, he was the author that coined the phrase Generation Jones because he said it was an epiphany he had when he was 15 years old and he was in a classroom and the teacher said to him, we are of the same generation. And he just went, no, we're not.
Well, I'd say my generation, so, early to mid 40s, on the cusp, as the kids would say. I think I'm probably the last generation that can really remember a time before cellular phones or before, even the internet. So it's 1996, I was in high school and, I was that was just sort of the really early days of, Prodigy and right. CompuServe and stuff like that. So anyone, it's I don't know, these kids today, and stuff like that, they can't believe that there was a time without a cell phone. They can't believe a world existed without walking around with a computer in your pocket and stuff like that. So, it's we're kind of the last ones that saw both. And you talk about, digital natives and whatever, buzzy words we want to use now, like these kids, and it's cool, but, there's always pros and cons to everything. They've never lived without right. Complete access to everything, and they can't even picture a world where, sure, there's Wikipedia now and there's the internet, but I truly remember using an encyclopedia and things like that. I remember rotary phones, and I remember, I remember the real early days of, a wireless phone for your house, and the antenna would be 6 feet long. You just kept pulling that thing out and, collapsing it down. But even, I remember the days, and this has been documented on tons of TV shows, but you had one phone in your kitchen and the cord would just go to almost any room on the main floor. Yep.
I remember that too. I totally. Mm-hmm. The longer the cord you had, it was kind of like the cooler you were because you could just, that's how you walked around the house with the phone, was if you had the extra long cord. Remember when you used to answer the phone and you'd say, hey, it's for you, or hey, you got to, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen in homes anymore.
Well, I'll take you one step further. I have a home phone. I never answer my home phone because anyone who knows me calls me on my cell phone. So the only people calling my home phone are telemarketers or crazy people. So I literally will I'll be sitting next to the phone. It'll ring and I won't answer it because if you're calling me at home, you don't know me.
Saul is also a professional speaker whose wisdom is shared on topics such as word-of-mouth marketing, stunt marketing, social media, and community building. So Saul wasn't always so busy for a very short period of time. And sorry, Saul, but I so admire you for what you did when you went on Facebook and you did a video and you basically, laid everything out on the table and you said, hire me. And from that video, tell us about that because that was awesome. And
All right, so I was working for a company, and I had, what I thought was a fairly long-term commitment from them. So I'd sort of slowed down on my business development and slowed down on trying to get new projects. And through, a little bit of no fault of my own and a little bit of, I don't know what you want to call it. The company decided to go into another direction, and all of a sudden, I'd gotten pretty complacent. I'd been working with them for a very long time. Had an 11-year relationship with this company, so you get comfortable. You get sort of in a groove, and I didn't have really anything in my sales pipeline. So you can be proud and you can pretend everything's okay. I'm about 98% honest on the internet. What I say is kind of like what you get, and a lot of people present their best self, and I do too. But I am also pretty genuine and truthful. So I went on Facebook Live and Instagram and LinkedIn, and basically said, hey, like, contract is up, and I've got free time, and I could really use your help, and I'm good at what I do. In fact, I'm great at what I do. Probably the best in the world at what I do. You guys should reach out to me and let's talk. And it was an interesting experiment because I got busy and my plate got full really quickly, but it didn't get full directly because of the video. Well, I guess it was directly because of the video, but anyone who reached out to me and said they saw the video didn't materialize in anything. But a lot of people made introductions for me because they saw the video, and or they just sort of woke up and realized that there was an opportunity for me to work with someone they knew or something like that. So I'm very fortunate. I don't take my network for granted. I don't take people for granted, and it was it could have been a really awful time in my career, and I was able to sort of rebound pretty quickly. And now I have some amazing people I'm working with. I'm very happy with where I am right now, but I'm always looking for the next project. I don't get complacent anymore at all, because I also don't want to be the guy who every 6 months goes and on Facebook and asks for more work. I'd rather show the things I've done and be successful and sort of get new work based on my old work, as opposed to get new work because I'm a nice guy and stuff like that.
I admired you in doing that because it was very humbling, right? It was extremely, you really took your ego, you set it aside. It was a humbling experience, and I thought that was, I admired you for having that strength and being able to do that. So that's how I felt about it. I could never do that. I could never do it.
But here's the thing, like, and this is how I kind of looked at it. You literally have nothing to lose. You could, if nothing materializes from it, you still have no work. And if something materializes it, you have like a cool story or maybe something that sort of builds on the myth. Like I feel like I've done a good job of building the myth of Saul over, my 20-year career and stuff like that. And this is just another thing to sort of add to the myth and like, part of what I preach to brands and part of what I preach when I speak at conferences about being fearless. So, it's like this was just a real world example of kind of business courage.
You're listening to Generation Jones, 1954 to 1964. Conversations with remarkable people who shaped our world. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Generation Jones is now aged 52 to 63 and nearly 50 million strong in the U.S. alone. Some experts say that Gen Jonesers' political influence and buying power are massive and only beginning to be understood. But the generation's biggest contribution from this generation may be in its workforce. If employers look past the graying hair, they just might see the answer to their recruiting problems. I love that.
I've been told many times over the last 5 years that I should color my beard or shave my beard. I look too old to be taken seriously even for projects or any full-time jobs and things like that. I've even been told, and again, I'm sort of the high end of Gen Xers. I've been told that I have the three things no company wants. I have age, I have opinions, experience, and I demand a high salary. So, it seems like the cutoff for great employment and stuff like that isn't probably 50. It's probably 35 or 38, because I get told all the time that I'm I'm not this brand material or whatever, and it's interesting. Like a recruiter told me that they had a really interesting job for me, or at least something they wanted me to interview for, and it was borderline dream job kind of territory where I'd maybe consider taking it seriously. And he told me I'd have to shave my beard before I go to the interview. And I got to tell you, I'm not even that attached to this beard. It's not that I need it or it's the source of my strength or anything like that. I just don't want anyone to tell me to do anything. So if someone's telling me the only way I'm going to get hired is shave my beard or color my beard, which I think is even more ridiculous, it's just it's a broader conversation of how just messed up the hiring process is at almost any age.
I just think it's annoying that because you get to a certain age, 54, that was 10 years ago almost for me. And that was, to me, I was in my prime at 54. I was at the height of my career where I was working for the big clients and speaking everywhere. And when I think that now 54 is considered old, 63, you're dead to everybody. Seriously, you might as well not even answer the phone. But it's sad. It's sad. And I hope to bring some light to that during this show.
So I'm going to say, here's a reason why you should be taking Jonesers more seriously from a hiring standpoint, is everyone gets caught up in the tools. Everyone says, oh, that person, like you said, your son doesn't think you know how to use Instagram. And people get so hung up on the tools, they don't spend enough time actually knowing the theory. So let's use marketing for an example. So there are people going through right now becoming Hootsuite experts or HubSpot experts, or whatever that shiny thing is at that moment. But a lot of these people, they know the tools inside and out, but they don't know why you're speaking to a persona at that way. They don't know, why you're doing some of the things you're doing. So, it's like if HubSpot or Hootsuite, and I don't wish any ill on them, and I hope they're around forever and successful, but if they disappear, these people are not learning to be marketers.
Right.
They're learning to be like a technical, data processor or whatever you want to call it. I don't read current marketing books because I don't think there's anything to learn from them. They're all telling you how to use a certain tool or a platform. I read marketing books from the 70s, 80s, and even early 90s because they're talking about marketing theory. They're talking about the whys, the hows, and things like that. So when you think about it, Jonesers, they're not getting caught up in the tools. They're not getting caught up in it. If somebody's worked for, anybody, a Ford, a Mattel, a Kodak, or somebody for 30 years, I guarantee you they're going to have way better insights into how to market any modern day product than someone who's got 3 years experience and is really, really slick on Pinterest or whatever.
Absolutely, 1,000%. It's like you don't understand the fundamentals of marketing. So how can you even think you can begin to do anything in marketing? I don't care what tool you have.
So I'll tell you, I had a meeting, and I've told the story a million times. I've maybe told it to you, but I had a meeting probably 5 or 6, 7 years ago with like a major film studio. And they were asking me to help them with some of their social media for their, at the time it was like, home video, VHS, or maybe it's longer, I don't know. But anyways, and YouTube was still reasonably new, or at least, using it for selling stuff. And basically we had this meeting, and the brief was get 1 million views on YouTube for the trailer of this home video release. And I said to him, I go, well, like, what would you rather have, 1 million views on YouTube and not sell any VHS tapes? Or would you rather have, 100,000 views and actually push 10, 15, 20,000 units of product? And they looked at me with this complete, like, dumbfounded look because they never actually thought of the pushing the product. They just assumed that was going to come if they got the million views, because people have told them that's the new benchmark, when the benchmark should always be revenue. The benchmark should always be sales. So it's like, if you get a million views and nobody buys it, did you really accomplish anything? I don't think so.
Yeah, then you have to question yourself if even you had something that they even really wanted, or did you just have a cool screen grab that somebody threw a graphic up over and it was awesome, and so everybody went like. It's I always say there's the data and then there's the interpretation of the data, right? So
you can pretty much make numbers say anything you want within reason.
Right. I have another question for you that I really want to ask.
Okay.
Now that it's legal, and I don't know if it's legal in Canada, but I think that it is it okay to pass a joint around a neighborhood barbecue?
So it will be legal in I think October 17th in Ontario. So I don't smoke drugs. I'm not morally against it. It's just like all I do is work. I have no joy in my life, Wendi. But is it legal? The ruling in Canada is anywhere that you can legally smoke a cigarette, you'll be able to legally smoke marijuana.
Okay,
in a few weeks.
You're pulling a Kavanaugh on me right now.
No.
So is it? Here's the question.
All my vices are sexual. There,
no,
I said
I
it.
know that.
I think as long as it's consensual, then it should be fine. As long as you're not coercing people and using peer pressure and whatever.
Oh, come on. You sound like an old fogey when it comes to marijuana. It's like, yeah, I'm going to sit in my backyard and go, here, just take a hit. Just take a hit. Yeah, just take a hit.
All your friends are doing it.
Today, Judge Brett Cavanaugh was confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court, which brings up a lot of opinions. Saul chimes in from a Canadian's point of view and how an innocent one-liner cost him $80,000.
Today is a special day in the United States of America because we are having this Cavanaugh confirmation happening. But I'm not going to ask you about that. I am going to ask you.
I have a lot of opinions on this.
Do you?
Go ahead.
That was one of my questions. It was like one of my quick questions was, would you pick Blasey Ford or would it be Cavanaugh? Do you have an answer?
Well, I'm against Cavanaugh. I think that this process has been a bit of a sham and ridiculous. But the thing that I don't understand, and I haven't really heard anybody talk about this, or maybe I just missed it, but I totally understand why they're trying to put Cavanaugh in place. He's going to push through Trump's agenda and things like that. But when all this firestorm of criticism came up, I just don't understand why, they can't just find, there's got to be some other guy who is, quasi-morally bankrupt that'll push forward the agenda that they're hoping that Cavanaugh will, and just erase all this media flurry. But then I just assume that this is just a power play by Trump, so he's going to be able to say, I got my guy and I won again, kind of thing. But man, looking at this, I don't get it. This should have been shut down weeks ago. So it's not even a conversation about, is he the right person or is he capable? It's just, when you have 4 or 5 women accuse you of inappropriate behavior and you're caught in lies, the Supreme Court is supposed to be the highest court in the land and the most respected, position that a judge can get. And you have someone basically who comes off as a petty criminal in some respects, nervous and sweating and all this stuff. Just go to the next guy. There's got to be 25 people who are of the same moral ambiguity that are going to, go attack all the things you want to attack. I just didn't understand why they were fighting for this one person when there had to be someone else who would have, raise the same eyebrows, but less of the media attention.
Well, it's kind of easy to understand. It's because it's Donald Trump's choice.
But there's got to be someone else too. Like,
oh, there has to be a million other people that will be more
Yeah.
qualified and wouldn't get the whole nation in an uproar and all that stuff. What I am hoping, because he's going to get confirmed, unfortunately, but what I'm hoping happens is that he sets out to prove that he will support women and he will be the judge that we don't expect him to be, or the justice that we don't expect him to be because of this cloud hanging over his head. I'm praying that it will work for us in the long run and not against us. So,
well, hopefully. Isn't it interesting, and maybe I'm getting us off topic, but isn't it interesting how political correctness has sort of pushed in both directions, forward and backwards? You think of, like, and I use this example all the time, but, one of my favorite movies is 48 Hours, the Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy movie. You couldn't make this movie today because it's basically just one racist comment. It's a 90-minute racist joke, and if you either look at it as entertainment and just sort of take it for what it was a time and it was a place. You couldn't get this away now. But on the other respect, like, we're defending, or we're saying this is too risky in one hand, but on another hand, a lot of rights for women, a lot of rights for couples, a lot of rights for genders and things that are getting pulled back. So it's just so fascinating where, it's like we should be moving forward and we should be, saying just let people live, love is love, and all that stuff. But in reality, there's more restrictions on the thought process than there probably has ever been before.
I did grow up in a generation where our work culture was a little bit different, and how I feel about the entire movement, which I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I do have a really interesting background that I could bring into it, but
I'd love to hear that, because I think that most of the strongest voices in the Me Too movement have probably been in the age category of 25 to 40 or even 25 to 35. And I haven't heard really there, and not that they don't exist, I just maybe missed it. I haven't heard a lot of women really talking about it, at 50 or at 60.
There was no equal opportunity employment when I was growing up, right? That didn't exist yet. That was created. There was no sexual harassment rules. That was created. And it depends on the industry that you're in. I was mostly in entertainment or working abroad, but there's just some things, like if I could tell you some stuff, but this is why I want to do the show on it, because I do want to get the opinions of other women and men that are my age, because I think that opinion could be very different than the young person that, oh my God, men must be just afraid to get up in the morning and go to work. I mean, seriously, you created I Make a Living for one of your clients. It's a great event, but yet you're not working with them anymore, from what I understand, because you made a remark on stage that was just maybe a little too sexy or something, but that's you.
I don't even think it, and I still to this day don't think that I said anything wrong. I tell people now that joke cost me $80,000, and I should have learned my lesson, but I still use that joke because, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I don't think that this is me being insensitive or not woke or whatever term the kids use today. But in some ways, it's my, I don't know if I have a self-sabotage streak in me or whatever, but this is my way of owning the moment, and because, like, no one got hurt, no one complained. No, like, it was just one or two people who didn't have a sense of humor or were overly sensitive. Just to clear it up, like, I didn't touch anybody. I didn't make a joke.
You can say it.
Extent.
Why don't you say what the joke is? I'll have you say it. Say it. Can you say it?
All right, well, so I did a keynote, and I did this keynote 12, 15 times, and I tell this joke all the time, and I don't even think it's a joke, really. It's more of a like, I don't know, it's a silly
It's
way
a
to remember
one-liner,
something.
right? It's like a
It's one line.
one-liner.
For 20 minutes, I'm explaining about influencer marketing and how it's better to work with the customers that care about your brand because they'll stick around for a long time as opposed to paying money to a celebrity like a Kardashian who's going to give you, a 72-hour bump in all of your likes and numbers, but then they're going to go and promote something else, and there's going to be no real tie back to your brand. And I say, and I explain the theory, and this is a age-old theory of marketing that you don't hear people talking about now because it's all get those clicks and likes, but the theory of know, like, and trust. If someone knows you, they like you, and they trust you, they're more likely to take your referral, buy your brand. It's like if I tell you to go to a restaurant, there's a chance that you may go to that restaurant because, I say this restaurant's great because we're friends, you and I, Wendi. But if a stranger tells you to go to this restaurant, you don't know if they're trying to sell you something. You don't know who they are. So maybe you're only 50% likely to go try that restaurant. It's just sort of how it is. So, I'm standing on stage. I'm explaining the theory of know, like, and trust. And I say, if you can't remember it, just remember KLT, clit. And saying the word clit, it made, nothing happened. The roof didn't open, fire didn't come out from the floors or anything, but someone thought saying the word clit was way too edgy. And I was basically thrown out of this thing that I created. So it's like, well, what can you do? You got to move forward, and you could fight about it. You could complain about it. You can make a scene, but it's just not worth it. It's like always move forward. Yeah.
But there was somebody in the audience that just, I think that the Me Too movement, Saul, it sometimes goes, I'm sorry to say this because everyone has rights and every woman has rights. And I come from a domestic violence background and all of that stuff. But I think that you can take it just a little too far at a certain point, and it becomes like, well, what kind of world are we going to be living in? Yes, there should be balance, and everybody has rights, right? But to be afraid to make a joke or do something like that, you're infringing kind of on people's personalities and then maybe even sometimes their livelihoods.
You've been listening to the wisdom and humor of experiential marketer Saul Colt, founder and creative director of the Idea Integration Company. Here's what he's currently up to and where you can find him.
The two things that I think deserve the most shine and attention right now is one, I'm working with OCAD University, which is Canada's largest design school, and we're spinning out a design thinking program for executive education. So people that fit into the Jones generation, if they want to learn design thinking and have, add another skill set to their resume and get a better chance of having a longer career, they should check out OCADU.co. Pretty proud of the work we're doing over there, as well as I'm working with a market research company called Methodify, and we're, art directing, creative directing, ads for them, doing a bunch of big campaigns coming up. So really appreciate the work we're doing with them. And maybe the biggest personal thing is I just launched my own podcast just this week, or, depending on when this airs, but I launched my own podcast. It's called We Now Join the Program Already in Progress, where, like you, I do these long form interviews, and then I just edit it to start a cold open only where we kind of hit a groove and things got interesting. So you don't get any of the beginning introductions and stuff like that. It's a bit different. We'll see how it goes. But I'm really enjoying recording them. I'm going to have you on the show, which I'm really excited. So I'm just going to ask you the questions you asked me today, and then I don't have to do any prep for it. But if you're interested in the podcast, you can search iTunes, Shopify, Google Play, anywhere podcasts are distributed. Look for We Now Join the Program Already in Progress, or search my name, Saul Colt, or you can just go to joininprogress.com. Check it out. And if you're a brand and you're looking for non-traditional marketing, experiential marketing, or just some crazy cool things to do, please reach out to me at theideaintegration.com. I almost said the idea generation. theideaintegration.com.
Okay, so it's even hard for you to say.
Yes.
Thanks for taking your time this morning to be here. I love you.
It's the same. Thank you for having me.
I'd like to thank Tom at Orsi Digital Media for his support of the show and his wonderful sound design. I'd also like to thank Skylar Billish for his original score that I adore. Make sure to subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts and listen at 7:30 a.m. on Monday mornings on UBN Radio. Thanks for listening.